Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said he would ignore the arrest warrant issued by the ICC for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Germany's defense minister says he won't run for chancellor in February snap elections and supports Olaf Scholz's re-election bid.
German automaker Volkswagen Workers' Union threatens new strike action after negotiations break down.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said he would ignore the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Orban added that he would extend an invitation to Netanyahu to travel to Budapest and that the court's verdict would not have an effect in Hungary.
A nemzetközi jog gyakorlatilag teljes lejáratását eredményezi, de ráadásul még olaj is lehet a tűzre. Tehát itt nincsen más választás, hanem szembe kell szegülni ezzel a döntéssel. Úgyhogy én még a mai nap során meg is fogom hívni az izraeliek miniszterelnökét, Netanyahu urat egy magyarországi látogatásra.
Netanyahu condemned the court's decision to issue warrants against him and his former defense secretary Yoav Gallant and called the verdict anti-Semitic.
זהו יום שחור בתולדות העמים. בית הדין הבינלאומי בהאג, שהוקם כדי להגן על האנושות, הפך היום לאויב האנושות.
An arrest warrant was also issued to Hamas leader Mohammed Daif. US President Joe Biden said that there was no equivalent between Israel and Hamas and condemned the court for comparing the Israeli politicians with Daif. The US and Israel are not members of the ICC, but the 27 member states of the European Union are required to detain those with an arrest warrant if they set foot on their soil. The court has no way of enforcing this, but the EU's top diplomat Josep Borrell said the court's decisions should be respected and implemented. Several member states, such as Italy, Ireland, the Netherlands, France, and Sweden, signaled that they would respect the court's decision.
This is probably the only meal Yasmin will be cooking for her family all day. She lives in a tent with her husband and 4 daughters in a camp in central Gaza. They have been displaced 5 times already.
شهور بتنا بدون أكل أو بدون يعني فطور ممكن طقة واحدة نعملها إلي ولكل أسرتي يعني طقة واحدة اللي نعملها كل شيء يعني غلي يعني ما بنقدر نجيب حاجة كل شيء غالي يعني أكيد إشي أكيد إني أنام بدون عشاء أنا وأسرتي.
These days, a bag of bread costs over $13 and meat has all but vanished from supermarket shelves. The UN has warned of a stark increase in the number of households experiencing severe hunger in central and southern Gaza. This appears to be linked to the robbery of nearly 100 aid trucks last weekend, which Israel blames on Hamas.
صراحة يعني أنا مش شايف على نفسي أحكي إيش المعاناة اللي إحنا عايشين فيها. يعني أنا نفسي خجلان إني أحكيها قدام العالم ومليون مليار مسلم بتفرج علينا وإحنا في الحرب والمعاناة والناس في المعاناة العروض انتهكت والأطفال ما راحوش على مدارسهم والمعاناة الشديدة طبعاً. إيش بدي أقول لك يعني واحد عنده 25 نفر ممكن ما يقدرش يوفر لهم كيس طحين.
On Thursday, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister, accusing them of using, quote, starvation as a method of warfare. Israel adamantly denies all charges.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin has blamed the aggressive actions of NATO countries for Moscow testing a new intermediate-range missile in a strike on Ukraine. Putin said Russia was conducting combat tests of the new Oreshnik missile system after Ukrainian strikes earlier this week using US and British weaponry.
Объекты для поражения в ходе дальнейших испытаний наших новейших ракетных комплексов будут определяться нами, исходя из угроз безопасности Российской Федерации. Мы считаем себя вправе применять наше оружие против военных объектов тех стран, которые позволяют применять свое оружие против наших объектов.
In his nightly video address, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky slammed Russia's use of the Oreshnik, saying Putin was using Ukraine as a training ground.
Сьогодні ж наш божевільний сусід вкотре показав, який він насправді, як він зневажає і гідність, і свободу, і взагалі життя людей. І як він боїться настільки, що застосовує вже нові ракети. І шукає по світу, де б ще знайти зброю. То в Ірані, то в Північній Кореї.
Earlier this week, US President Joe Biden gave Ukraine authorization to use US-supplied longer-range missiles to strike military targets deeper inside Russia. According to the Kremlin, Ukraine fired several ATACMS into Russia on Tuesday. And a day after that, Ukraine used up to 12 British French-made Storm Shadow missiles for strikes into Russia's Kursk region. US officials have said the change in the Biden administration policy was a response to Russia using thousands of troops from North Korea to support Moscow's forces in the conflict. Germany's defense minister Boris Pistorius has said he won't run for chancellor in February's snap elections. In a video posted to SDP social media channels, Pistorius said he's not available and would instead support Olaf Scholz's re-election bid. Pistorius, currently polling as Germany's most popular politician, said his decision not to run against Scholz was sovereign and entirely personal. Scholz called a snap election after the collapse of the coalition in early November. That came after Scholz fired the then finance minister Christian Lindner. Scholz told the press at the time that Lindner had broken his trust too many times. As per German election rules, the Bundestag will hold a government confidence vote on December the 16th before voters head to the polls on February the 23rd. The traffic light coalition has governed Germany since 2021, and its collapse meant Scholz's government no longer had a majority in parliament. The SDP confirmed on Thursday that they would nominate Scholz as their lead candidate for chancellor next week. But according to current opinion polls, support for the Social Democratic Party is low. A tally published on Thursday by political research group Infratest DMAP shows the CDU-CSU polling at 33%, with the SPD trailing behind at 14%, level with the Greens.
A labor union at German car maker Volkswagen has threatened to go on strike next month after negotiations with management over proposed drastic cost-cutting measures collapsed. The parties held their third round of talks on Thursday at the firm's headquarters in Wolfsburg. The union proposed creating a fund worth roughly 1.5 billion euros by declining part of wages for 2 years.
Dass das in einem Umfang sein wird, der dem Unternehmen sehr, sehr deutlich machen wird, dass wir als IG Metall und dass die Beschäftigten von Volkswagen es ernst meinen.
Around 7,000 workers demonstrated at the venue of the meeting to press their demands. The car maker has been struggling financially amid a drop in demand in Europe and intensifying competition with Chinese electric vehicle makers. Any domestic closures will be the first in Volkswagen's 87-year history.
After some delay due to power games, the three largest political groups in the European Parliament gave the green light to the new von der Leyen College of Commissioners. At the end, the Socialists accepted the Italian right-winger Raffaele Fitto to become Executive Vice President, while the EPP renounced to demand the downfall of the Spanish Socialist Teresa Ribera. Both will get big economic portfolios. Also, Hungarian Oliver Varhelyi from the far-right Patriots group survived, but he lost some powers over women's health controversy. His portfolio could be limited. Now, the hard work lies ahead for the new commission, which faces many challenges.
I would say there are two kinds of challenges for the Commission. The first kind is the priorities of the Commission, implementation of the Green Deal, going forward on defense industry, also agriculture. The the Commission promised a new strategy or a new vision for agriculture in the 100 days. Also the pre-enlargement reviews of all the policies, of all the EU policies. But the second kind of challenges are the external challenges, like the election of Donald Trump, the situation in Ukraine, and also what we saw recently, the migration situation and the political consequences of it. So the Commission will have to balance what it has in priorities, but also how these priorities could be modified or disrupted by the global context, the current situation.
These challenges will be addressed by vice presidents and commissioners. The former Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas will be the new High Representative of Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, and Lithuanian Andrius Kubilius will be the Commissioner for Defense and Space. For issues that could come up, especially with the election of Donald Trump, the Slovakian Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Maros Šefčovič, will be the one to take action. For migration issues, the Austrian Commissioner Magnus Brunel will be responsible. At the same time, the new EU Commission may need to address some of the problems of the European citizens, which have become political.
There will be two portfolios to watch. The first one on energy and housing and the political consequences of the housing crisis, and that will be the Danish Commissioner Jørgensen, and also the question of skills, meaning education, training and labor conditions, with the Romanian Executive Vice President of the Commission, Roxana Minzatu.
The official vote of the plenary is expected next week in Strasbourg, which would allow the new Commission to start working on the 1st of December. So far, no other surprises are expected.